Welcome to the next installment of my video lecture series for international economics. And in this particular video lecture, we're going to be comparing dollar rates of return on dollar and euro deposits. That is what you need to look at if you're considering making investments in financial instruments that are denominated in dollars versus euros. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this table. We're going to have columns that are going to be for the dollar interest rate, the euro interest rate. We're also going to take into consideration the expected rate of dollar depreciation against the euro. And with those three pieces of information, we should be able to calculate a rate of return difference between the dollar and euro deposits. So make sure you understand this, in particular the importance of the expected exchange rate in determining whether or not you should buy financial instruments denominated in different currencies. That it's very important that you know that you have to consider the expected depreciation between those two currencies in order to accurately compare the rates of return. So let's take a look at this, and one of the things, we're just going to assume that the interest rate is going to be the same. It's going to be 10% for the four different cases that we're going to take a look at. We're going to vary the euro interest rate, and we're also going to vary the expected rate of dollar depreciation against the euro to see how that impacts the rate of return difference, i.e. which currency investment in the financial instrument of a particular currency is more attractive. So if we assume that the euro interest rate is 6% compared to 10% in the United States, and also that the dollar is not expected to depreciate, that the value of the relative values of dollars and euros is going to remain constant during the time period of this investment. If that's the case, we don't have to take into consideration this last portion of this rate of return difference calculation. This is going to be equal to 0. The relative exchange rates are going to remain the same. So all we really need to look at is the rates of return. So if this part here is equal to 0, we're going to have 10% minus 6% minus 0, which gives us 4%, which tells us that the rate of return in dollar instruments, the dollar-denominated instruments, is going to be 4% higher than euro-denominated investments. Let's change that and assume that the dollar does depreciate. So we're going to keep the euro interest rate the same at 6%, but we're going to assume that the dollar is going to depreciate by 4% during the time period of this investment. So if we plug those numbers into the formula here, we have 10% minus 6% minus 4%, which gives us 0. The thing you have to realize from here is even though the euro interest rate is less than the dollar interest rate, here 6% versus 10%, at the end of this investment, the dollar has depreciated. So therefore, if we purchase the euro-denominated security or a financial instrument, when we convert that back to dollars, we're going to get 4% more dollars back in exchange for that. So that 4% depreciation of the dollar is going to eliminate the difference in the interest rates. So the difference in the interest rates here is 4%. We're getting 4% less interest for euro-denominated security, but we are going to be compensated by the fact that we can buy 4% more dollars with those euros if we bought that euro-denominated financial instrument. So that all cancels out, and under that scenario where the dollar interest rate's 10%, the euro interest rate's 6%, and the dollar depreciates by 4%, those two investments are identical to one another. The rate of return between those two is exactly the same. So let's again assume that we have a 6% euro interest rate, but let's assume now that the expected rate of dollar depreciation against the euro during the time period is going to be 10%. So if we plug that information up in here, we have 10% minus 6% minus 10%, which gives us negative 6%. So that is telling us that the euro-denominated securities or investments that we can make are more attractive than the dollar. And to take a look at this, even though the interest rate for the dollar is 10%, while it's 6% for the euro, if we invest in the euro financial instrument, At the end of that investment, we can purchase 10% more dollars with the euros that we have. So that will compensate us for the 4% difference between the interest rates, 10 and 6%, but then we'll get an additional 6% on top of that. So looking at this, we can see that the dollar denominated investment is going to be less attractive by 6% relative to the euro one because of the large depreciation of the dollar against the euro. Let's take a look at another scenario, but here we're going to have that the interest rate is 12%. So if we solely looked at interest rates for determining which of these investments was more attractive, the euro interest rate is higher. However, we've set up a scenario here where now we're not depreciating the dollar, but we're causing the dollar to appreciate. So even though the euro interest rate's higher, the dollar is going to appreciate during that time period of that investment. So you're going to be able to buy fewer dollars with the euros that you have for that euro investment. So if we have 10 minus 12 minus 4%, we actually get a positive 2%. So under this scenario where the interest rate in the Eurozone is 12% and it's 10% in the United States, the dollar denominated security is more attractive because of the 4% appreciation of the dollar during that time period.